Yo, I'm back. Second video. Let's freaking go. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking to you about how I colored Lion Live from the Loft by Elevation Worship. As you can see, change of settings today. I'm no longer at my apartment. I am at my office desk. So I got to be the director of photography for this as well. We used Blackmagic Ursa 12 case, and we used Zeiss compact zooms, which Zeiss compact zooms were on my list to use for a long time just because I loved the CP2s so much and I loved the look of the Supreme Primes, and we needed something that had zoom. So what better way to go than Zeiss? So we did that, and then we also had a half black satin on the front. Also, the Ursas were great to work with. Honestly, I think it has pretty comparable dynamic range to an Alexa, maybe even just a little bit more, if I'm honest, in the highlights. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know. But anyway, it was super fun to work with these. And the story about how this grade came about was literally me messing around the day after the recording. So I basically just pulled up something, put a few nuds down, and then the look was almost ready to go, aside from like color balancing all of the cameras. The way that I go about grading multicam projects, specifically live albums, is I do my entire grade in the timeline tab. So it kind of acts like an adjustment layer in Premiere if you're used to that. And then the way that I do color correction and balancing is actually in each clip in the multicam sequence. So I only have to adjust for the entire recording, like however many cameras I have. So it'll just adjust that entire thing and it'll take that into account. So like if the yellows are slightly different on one camera from another, I'll match all of the yellows to be the same exact yellow that I want, stuff like that. So in this specific album, it's like the color of the wood and like the skin tones kind of went a little bit whack. And I don't know why. I think it's just because of like lens flaring and positioning of where the cameras were, which is fine. That's bound to happen. So you just got to account for that in post. I'll show you guys what this looks like. We'll jump in. I'm not going to do a full recreation. I'll just break down the look. In Resolve, what we have here is I'll open my edit timeline. So this is what this looks like. Here's with all the cuts. This is for Lion. So what I've done here is after we get picture lock, I will flatten out all the clips just to bring it back to raw, move it up one layer just so that I can tweak any raw settings if I need to. And it's just better to know that that is the 12K or 8K footage that we filmed in. That's sitting right there, so I know for a fact it's right and not like some weird nested sequence or something. Sometimes I'll do fades on top. That's what you see right here with this little purple block. Other times I'll just do it in the clip. It doesn't really matter. It kind of all acts the same. What I was talking about earlier is doing color correction within the multicam clip. So I will just open this timeline. This is what we have, all of the raw footage here for the entire night. So it's like an hour and a half of footage. In here is where I would do individual adjustments for each camera. So like, here's that yellow that I was talking about for sure. So like this is where I'm gonna match all of my yellows. So all the wood looks the same. And then I'm also gonna add some contrast if it needs it. So this specific camera, Cam 7, was a Blackmagic Pocket 6K, I believe. No, Pocket 4K. It was Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and then the other 6 cameras were Ursa 12Ks. So it's good to know that they match up really well. So cool. This is what it looks like for in my clips. This camera didn't need anything because this is the camera I actually liked the color out of, so I matched everything to this camera specifically. So some of these have like curve adjustments, some HDR stuff to balance out like overexposed highlights and some shadows, some clipped shadow detail. Let's break down the look, my guys and my gals. So what you see at the end here is this export node because I don't have a calibrated monitor at work. And by calibrated, I mean my monitor is calibrated, but I don't have like a color accurate panel for color grading here. I have that at home, which as I'm talking about it out loud, I'm realizing I should just bring it here or something. This is loosely based off of 2383. I'm using the film print emulation That's just one of the ways that I love to do it. It gives me the luminance values of the film stock, which is more of what I'm after rather than the color information and the color depth. So the first thing that I'm gonna do when I'm coming into this is I'm going to want to just throw the 2383 film print on it. And it looks like that, which is not good. So then I throw on my color space transform, because what I'm doing is taking it from Blackmagic Gen 5 to RE Log C. That's what I do there. That's what's happening. That's what you see. From there, I go, okay, let me fix some of this lighting. So then I bring the lighting down to something that I'm more comfortable with. So like it'll sit nicely in the scopes, white balance it a little bit, and then I'll throw in the saturation. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're cooking with fire. Then I have these global adjustments. Now the global adjustments that are being made is just a slight boost in contrast to get more depth out of the image and make it look fire. So then from there, we have a pretty good base. This isn't really what it looked like in the room at all. It's pretty warm. So then I have a node that I call vibes, because you always need to bring the vibes as a colorist. So that cools the heck out of it, which makes it look really good in my opinion. It's like a nice cold steel look, but obviously it's a little bit too like emphasized for what it is. And so we're gonna mellow it out a little bit and make it more sweet. So then what I'm doing here is I'm using a glow to bring back some of that warmth. And again, in my last tutorial, I talked about the glow node a little bit. This is just something I really love using to bring back color depth into the image, and also it adds into your highlights a little bit as well. So those are my settings there if you want to copy them and make your thing look like this thing. Then I have another glow node, which I called glue, because it feels like it glues the image back together. So like right now it's punchy, it's contrasty, it's nice, but like I kind of got rid of the black satin feel, like the half black satin that we were using. So let's just bring it back in post. So it's just a nice little slight push. You can see it blooming off of the symbol there and off of some of the people. And then literally all that's happening is I'm putting on grain and I'm adding sharpening. And that's like literally it. That is the entire look of the album. And I had it done in probably 10 minutes whenever I sat down with the footage the next day. And then what you're gonna see here is this export node, which does that. And honestly, it makes it look ugly and oversaturated and yucky, but for some reason, Apple just doesn't want to play nicely and give us displays that look the same way as you export it whenever you go to watch it in QuickTime or put it on YouTube. I had to play with these settings. If you're curious as to what it was for this project, it was plus 4.8 on the saturation, and my shadows were almost boosted to 50%, which is disgusting and it should be a crime. And then somewhere in my curves I did, oh yeah, I mellowed out the reds because I exported a bunch of it and then I realized that the skin tones looked like crap. So I was like, okay, let me go back on that and fix that. This is the export tab, but we'll turn that back off because we don't need it. This is what it should look like when it's on YouTube. I just had to compensate for that on the export. I know this is a pretty lame video because I don't really talk about the theory of anything. Honestly, this is just like you get to see what I did for the color and see how simple it was. And sometimes simple is good and simple gets the job done and it's the right tool for the job. So pro tip, if you're doing noise reduction to everything, which you should be because cameras are inherently noisy whenever you're recording in RAW, I put everything into a group and then I just go to the pre-group, or I go to the group pre-clip and I just add the noise reduction there. And my settings for noise reduction were 3 frames at a better motion estimate type. And then Luma and Chroma were 5.4. And then for spatial, to get rid of the extra color noise, you just unlink it and then boost the chroma value a little bit. And that gets rid of like a lot of the disgusting color noise. So if you watch the scopes down here real quick, yuck. So got rid of all that noise and then we added the grain back in post because we want it to feel organic. So on the timeline thing, you'll see this. And I use a custom version of, I think it's 500T archival print is what I was doing. And so those are the settings for my grain, if you want to know. So I know I didn't really go into too much of building the look with you guys, and that's something that I want to start doing on the channel in the future. It's just difficult when I haven't touched a project for many months and then I have to recreate the look. Because most of the time I don't remember what I do until I get into the project, and I'm sure I could keep track of that somehow so that I can actually rebuild these looks with you guys and like start from scratch and help you get the fundamentals down if you're a beginner, or if you're an advanced lad or lass, then it'll hopefully put you in a spot where it's like, I haven't ever thought about color that way or doing this or using this tool, so this is actually very helpful. But at the very least, I hope that, you know, being able to see what I'm doing on these looks, one is like, oh, Tyler's doing these things on like Elevation Worship's records and there's like 12 nodes max and he's not keying skin tones, he's not doing anything like that. Like sometimes for live recordings, it's just too much of a pain in the butt. Like light it right, get the colors right in camera, and then you barely have to do any work in post. And like, I think I just got lucky because I was able to DP this as well. I chose the cameras that I wanted from the start. Honestly, I was trying to get reds in there. We just didn't have the budget. So I got Ursa 12Ks because I hadn't used them yet and I knew that they were pretty cool. And I know how Blackmagic works. I own a Pocket 6K. So I knew that the latitude was gonna be good. I knew that the colors were gonna be good as long as we lit it right. And Blackmagic Raw is literally insane. So I really was able to just walk in knowing exactly in my mind that I'm lighting it for how I want it to be in post. So even one thing that our director said was like, hey, this feels pretty bright in camera. Should we bring it down? And I was like, no, I'll bring it down in post because I wanted cleaner shadows. And so I was like, I know that I can overexpose about a stop on the skin tones, bring it down, and it'll look great. And somehow we got blessed with a cloudy day, so the windows didn't blow out. So yeah, leave a comment, leave a like. If you hate it, dislike it. If you hate me, unsubscribe, or consider subscribing if you don't. If you love me, I'll love you back. And if you love me, you'll follow this and give me some recommendations of what you'd like to see, because honestly, I'm here to serve. I want to be a useful person on the internet for teaching people, so. Wait, here, do it with me. Okay, we're gonna kiss. You ready? 3, 2, 1. You like that? All right, see you later.